Ladies and gentlemen, money does not respond to how hard you work, how many hours you struggle, or how much you sacrifice. It responds to vibration. This truth feels uncomfortable to many people because it challenges everything they were taught about effort, struggle, and worth. Yet when observed honestly, it explains why some people seem to attract money effortlessly, while others remain stuck despite constant effort. Vibration is not mystical or abstract. It is the emotional and mental state you consistently live in. Money moves toward familiarity. It flows toward the state that feels normal, safe, and accepted within you. When wealth feels foreign or unsafe, money cannot stay. Even if it arrives temporarily, it leaks away through unexpected expenses, poor decisions, or lost opportunities. This is not punishment. It is alignment. Most people unknowingly hold a vibration of lack while trying to attract abundance. They think about money constantly. But their thinking is charged with worry, urgency, and fear. These emotions broadcast a clear signal. Money is missing. The law responds faithfully by maintaining the experience of missing. Effort alone does not raise vibration. In fact, excessive effort often lowers it. Struggle carries tension. Tension signals resistance. Resistance tells the subconscious that the desired state is not present. Money does not move toward resistance. It moves toward openness. Calm expectation is one of the highest money vibrations. Calm expectation says, without words, this is normal for me. It does not rush. It does not beg. It does not demand proof. It assumes continuity. Money recognizes this state and aligns with it naturally. Your dominant feeling about money matters more than your thoughts about money. Thoughts are surface level. Feelings are instructions. You can think positively while feeling anxious underneath. The subconscious responds to the anxiety, not the positive words. This is why many affirmations fail. They speak abundance while feeling lack. Scarcity is not caused by external conditions alone. It is reinforced internally through emotional patterns. Feeling unsafe, unworthy, rushed, or behind creates a low money vibration. Even large opportunities struggle to penetrate this state. When they do, they often collapse because the internal environment cannot sustain them. Money responds to familiarity. If abundance feels unfamiliar, the nervous system reacts with discomfort. Discomfort triggers self-sabotage. This sabotage is rarely conscious. It appears as hesitation, distraction, procrastination, or poor timing. These behaviors restore emotional familiarity, even if that familiarity is struggle. Raising money vibration does not require pretending to be rich. It requires removing emotional resistance. Resistance shows up as resentment toward money, guilt about wanting it, or fear of losing it. These emotions repel money because they signal conflict. Gratitude is powerful because it shifts vibration from wanting to having. Gratitude does not deny desire. It changes the emotional position of the mind. It says something has already been received. The subconscious responds by expanding that experience. Words also tune vibration. Money responds to certainty in speech. Casual complaints, jokes about being broke, or constant focus on prices reinforce scarcity. The subconscious does not interpret humor. It records repetition. What you repeat emotionally becomes familiar. Familiarity becomes normal. Silence can raise vibration faster than words. Constantly talking about money problems keeps attention locked on them. Silence allows emotional reset. When the mind quiets, vibration stabilizes. Your body also broadcasts vibration. Rushed movement, shallow breathing, and tension communicate urgency and fear. Slower movement, steady breath, and relaxed posture communicate safety. Safety attracts resources. Money flows where it feels welcome. Another overlooked factor is self-concept. Money flows toward identity, not desire. If you see yourself as someone who just gets by, That identity sets a ceiling. If you see yourself as supported, capable, and provided for, money adjusts accordingly. Identity shapes expectation. Expectation shapes outcome. Money vibration improves when you stop measuring constantly, checking accounts obsessively, watching numbers anxiously, and comparing yourself to others lowers vibration. These habits reinforce insecurity. Insecurity repels expansion. Trust stabilizes vibration. Trust does not mean passivity. It means acting without panic. Panic fractures focus. Fracture focus scatters energy. Scattered energy weakens attraction. The law is neutral. It does not judge effort or intention. It mirrors state. When state changes, circumstances follow. This is why sudden financial shifts often follow inner calm rather than intense action. Money also responds to contribution. Contribution reinforces worth. Worth stabilizes vibration. When you give value without resentment, the subconscious registers abundance. This does not mean overgiving. Overgiving from guilt lowers vibration. Balanced contribution strengthens it. Sleep plays a role. The emotional state carried into sleep programs the subconscious deeply. Falling asleep in worry conditions scarcity. Falling asleep in peace conditions sufficiency. This is why nighttime practices are powerful. Time pressure lowers vibration. Feeling late or behind compresses energy. Money responds poorly to pressure. It moves through openness and timing, not force. When vibration shifts, money often arrives through unexpected channels. This surprises the conscious mind because it expected linear effort. The law is not linear. It is associative. It connects states, not steps. Trying to control outcomes often blocks them. Control signals fear of loss. Fear contracts vibration. Allowing outcomes signals trust. Trust expands vibration. You do not need to convince yourself you are wealthy. You need to stop convincing yourself that you are unsafe. Safety is the doorway. Once safety is established, expansion follows naturally. Money vibration is not raised by doing more, but by resisting less. Less emotional resistance. Less mental noise, less self-judgment, less urgency. As resistance dissolves, money no longer feels distant. It feels cooperative. Opportunities feel timely instead of stressful. Decisions feel clearer. Effort feels lighter. Money responds when it senses alignment. Alignment feels calm, steady, and unquestioned. In that state, attraction is not forced, it is automatic. Change the vibration, and money has no choice but to respond. Your dominant feeling about money is the blueprint your financial reality follows. Thoughts come and go, plans change, circumstances shift, but the feeling you consistently carry about money remains the strongest instruction you give to life. This feeling operates beneath words and logic. It is subtle, automatic, and deeply ingrained, which is why it is so powerful. Many people believe they are thinking positively about money because they repeat affirmations or visualize success. Yet underneath those practices, the dominant feeling may still be anxiety, pressure, or fear. The subconscious does not respond to the surface message. It responds to the emotional atmosphere. If the atmosphere is tense, money interprets that as instability. Instability repels continuity. A dominant feeling is not what you feel occasionally. It is what you return to by default. It is the emotional state you settle into when nothing is actively distracting you. That resting emotional tone tells the subconscious what is normal. Normal becomes the standard the mind works to maintain. If your dominant feeling about money is stress, life will continually generate situations that justify stress. Bills, delays, and emergencies appear not because you deserve them, but because they match the internal expectation. The law is precise. It mirrors emotional certainty, not desire. Feeling secure around money does not require having a large amount of it. Security is emotional, not numerical. There are people with very little who feel calm, and people with millions who feel constantly threatened. The difference is not money itself, but the emotional relationship with it. This is why sudden wealth often collapses. If someone's dominant feeling is still fear or unworthiness, the money feels unsafe. The subconscious seeks to restore emotional familiarity. Familiarity wins over logic every time. Money then leaves through choices that seem random but are emotionally consistent. Your dominant feeling shapes your decisions without your awareness. When money feels scarce, decisions are rushed. Rushed decisions often produce poor outcomes. Those outcomes then reinforce the feeling of scarcity. This loop continues until the feeling changes. Changing the dominant feeling does not happen through force. You cannot command yourself to feel secure while emotionally rehearsing danger. Feelings change through repeated emotional experiences that contradict old expectations. Small moments of calm, gratitude, and sufficiency matter more than dramatic affirmation. The feeling of enough is a powerful turning point. Enough does not mean having everything. It means the absence of panic. When panic leaves, clarity enters. Clarity improves judgment. Improved judgment changes outcomes. Outcomes then reinforce the new feeling. Your dominant feeling is shaped by language. Casual phrases like money is tight, everything is expensive, or I can't afford that are not neutral. Repeated emotionally, they condition the nervous system to expect limitation. The subconscious accepts these phrases as descriptions of reality. Replacing language is not about lying, it is about choosing neutrality over negativity. Neutral language reduces emotional charge. Reduced charge weakens old patterns. Over time, the emotional tone shifts. Media and environment also feed dominant feeling. Constant exposure to fear-based financial narratives conditions anxiety. Anxiety becomes familiar. Familiar anxiety becomes normal. Normal anxiety becomes expectation. Expectation becomes experience. Dominant feeling also affects patience. When money feels scarce, time feels threatening. Everything feels urgent. Urgency clouds perception. When money feels stable, time relaxes. Relaxed time allows better timing. Timing improves results. Sleep is a major contributor. The feeling you carry into sleep programs the subconscious without resistance. Falling asleep worried strengthens scarcity. Falling asleep calm strengthens trust. This is why nighttime emotional hygiene matters. Gratitude works because it interrupts the feeling of absence. It does not deny desire. It shifts the emotional position from waiting to receiving. Receiving is a stable feeling. Stability attracts continuity. Your dominant feeling also determines what you notice. When you feel unsupported, you notice obstacles. When you feel supported, you notice opportunities. Opportunities were always there. Feeling determines visibility. This is why two people in identical situations experience completely different outcomes. One feels doomed. The other feels guided. Their feelings lead them down different paths. The dominant feeling becomes identity over time. You stop seeing it as a feeling and start seeing it as who I am. This identity then filters all experience. Changing the feeling gently changes identity. Self-judgment blocks change. Judging yourself for feeling anxious about money adds another layer of tension. Tension strengthens the old feeling. Acceptance softens it. Softening allows movement. The goal is not to feel excited about money all the time. Excitement is unstable. The goal is to feel calm, neutral, and safe. Safety is magnetic. Money moves towards safety, because safety supports continuity. When safety becomes dominant, money stops feeling like something to chase. It feels like something that circulates. Circulation replaces struggle. Flow replaces force. The law responds to dominant feeling because dominant feeling is the clearest signal of belief. Belief does not shout. It rests. As the dominant feeling shifts, behavior changes automatically. You negotiate differently, you wait differently, you choose differently. These changes compound quietly. Eventually, the external world catches up. Not suddenly, but steadily. The new feeling becomes confirmed by experience. Experience reinforces feeling. The cycle stabilizes. Money never responds to what you want once. It responds to what you feel as true most often. Change the dominant feeling, and the financial story rewrites itself from the inside out. Scarcity is a frequency long before it is a condition. Most people believe they experience lack because of external factors such as economy, opportunity, background, or timing. In reality, those factors only mirror an inner state that has already been accepted as normal. Scarcity lives first in perception, emotion, and expectation. Once it settles there, life organizes itself to confirm it. A scarcity frequency is not simply wanting more money. It is the emotional atmosphere surrounding money. It is the tension felt when thinking about expenses, the tightness in the body. When opening a bill, the mental habit of calculating loss before gain. These reactions operate automatically, often without conscious awareness. The subconscious reads them as instructions. The most powerful aspect of scarcity is familiarity. Even when people dislike it, scarcity often feels familiar. Familiarity feels safe to the nervous system, even if it is uncomfortable. This is why people unconsciously recreate situations they claim to want to escape. The subconscious prioritizes predictability over pleasure. Scarcity frequency shows up in language. Repeated phrases about difficulty, struggle, prices, or limitation create emotional reinforcement. Over time, the phrases are no longer just words, they become emotional truths. The subconscious does not distinguish between description and declaration. What is described repeatedly becomes expected. Fear plays a central role in scarcity frequency. Fear of not having enough, fear of losing what little exists, fear of future uncertainty. These fears tighten attention. Tight attention contracts perception. Contracted perception limits options. Limited options reinforce fear. This loop sustains scarcity effortlessly. Many people attempt to fix scarcity by increasing action. They work harder, plan more, hustle constantly. While action is not wrong, action driven by fear amplifies scarcity. Fear-based action carries urgency. Urgency signals lack. The law responds by maintaining lack. Scarcity is also reinforced by comparison. Comparing oneself to others creates a sense of being behind. Being behind implies loss. Loss strengthens scarcity frequency. Even motivation rooted in comparison often carries hidden resentment or shame, which lowers vibration further. Another source of scarcity is unworthiness. Feeling undeserving creates internal resistance to receiving. Even when opportunities arise, the mind finds reasons to reject or sabotage them. This may appear as procrastination, self-doubt, or poor negotiation. These behaviors restore the familiar state of having less. Scarcity frequency also distorts time perception. Time feels threatening when scarcity is active. Deadlines feel heavy. Waiting feels dangerous. This pressure leads to rushed decisions. Rushed decisions often produce suboptimal results. These results then confirm scarcity. Media and environment continuously reinforce scarcity. Constant exposure to narratives of crisis, inflation, competition, and struggle conditions the nervous system. Over time, anxiety becomes the baseline emotional state. Baseline states shape assumptions without conscious choice. Scarcity also affects generosity. When scarcity is dominant, giving feels risky. This is not about generosity itself, but about trust. Lack of trust signals insecurity. Insecurity repels expansion. This does not mean giving beyond capacity, but it highlights the emotional posture toward circulation. Circulation is key. Money is movement. Scarcity blocks movement through hoarding or fear-based spending. Both are expressions of distrust. Distrust contracts flow. Flow requires openness. Scarcity frequency is often inherited. Family beliefs, childhood experiences, and early conditioning establish emotional patterns around money. These patterns feel personal but are often borrowed. Awareness is the first step to release. Breaking scarcity does not require dramatic belief shifts. It requires emotional softening. Softening reduces resistance. Reduced resistance allows new experiences. New experiences gently rewrite expectation. Neutrality is powerful here. Moving from panic to calm neutrality is a major upgrade in frequency. Calm neutrality allows observation without reaction. Without reaction, old patterns weaken. Gratitude interrupts scarcity because it changes the emotional position from waiting to receiving. Even small acknowledgments of sufficiency signal safety. Safety invites expansion. Another key shift is reducing mental rehearsal of problems. Replaying financial worries reinforces them. Each replay strengthens emotional certainty. Certainty manifests. Choosing to stop rehearsing is an act of frequency change. The body also carries scarcity. Tight shoulders, shallow breathing, and constant tension reinforce alertness. Alertness signals threat. Threat sustains scarcity. Relaxation communicates safety. Safety attracts resources. Scarcity is not solved by convincing the mind it is wealthy. It is solved by convincing the nervous system it is safe. Safety is the foundation. From safety, clarity emerges. From clarity, better decisions arise naturally. When safety increases, perception widens. Wider perception reveals options that were invisible before. These options were always present, but filtered out by fear. Fear narrows focus. Calm expands it. Scarcity frequency also affects identity. People begin to see themselves as someone who struggles. Identity reinforces behavior. Behavior reinforces outcome. Changing identity starts by loosening emotional attachment to struggle. Struggle often becomes part of self-image. Releasing it can feel unfamiliar and even uncomfortable. This discomfort is not danger, it is transition. The nervous system is adjusting to a new baseline. Small experiences of ease are crucial. Ease contradicts scarcity. Each moment of ease weakens the old frequency. Over time, ease becomes familiar. Familiar ease becomes normal. Normal ease attracts continuity. Scarcity dissolves when trust replaces fear. Trust does not mean ignoring reality. It means expecting support rather than collapse. Expectation directs perception. Perception guides action. Action produces results. The law does not remove scarcity by force. It responds to internal agreement. When agreement with scarcity ends, scarcity loses authority. Money follows the frequency of allowance, not struggle. Allowance invites movement. Movement creates opportunity. Opportunity creates expansion. As scarcity frequency fades, money stops feeling like an enemy or a problem. It feels like a neutral tool that circulates. Circulation replaces stagnation. Flow replaces force. Changing frequency changes what feels possible. What feels possible determines what is attempted. What is attempted determines what is achieved. Scarcity is not an enemy to fight. It is a signal to soften, slow down, and realign emotionally. When alignment replaces fear, scarcity has nowhere to stay. And when scarcity leaves, abundance does not need to be summoned. It arrives naturally. Calm expectation is the state where money responds most efficiently. It is not excitement, and it is not passive hope. It is the quiet assumption that support is already arranged. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that when expectation is calm, the mind stops interfering and the law can operate without resistance. Most people confuse expectation with wanting. Wanting carries tension, it leans forward emotionally, it waits. Calm expectation rests. It does not wait anxiously because it assumes continuity. This assumption removes urgency, and urgency is what blocks flow. When expectation is calm, behavior changes naturally. You stop chasing every opportunity out of fear. You stop forcing decisions. You move when it feels appropriate. This timing is not accidental. Calm expectation sharpens intuition. Intuition guides action more accurately than analysis driven by anxiety. An anxious mind scans for threats. A calm mind scans for openings. Both are forms of focus, but they produce opposite results. Calm expectation widens perception. Wider perception reveals options that panic would overlook. Money responds to this state because it communicates stability. Stability supports circulation. Money does not thrive in chaos. It moves toward environments internal and external where it can circulate without disruption. Calm expectation also alters language. Words soften. Statements become declarative rather than hopeful. You stop saying, "I hope this works," and start thinking this will unfold as needed. This shift is subtle but powerful. The subconscious reads certainty, not volume. Another effect of calm expectation is patience without passivity. You remain engaged but not obsessed. Obsession narrows focus and drains energy. Calm engagement conserves energy. Conserved energy improves decision-making. Many people believe they must constantly think about money to attract it. In reality, constant thinking often signals worry. Worry communicates distrust. Distrust repels flow. Calm expectation allows money to work in the background. This is why breakthroughs often happen when people stop trying so hard. They release tension. Tension was the barrier, not lack of effort. When tension drops, alignment restores itself. Calm expectation also changes how setbacks are interpreted. A delay no longer feels like failure. It feels like adjustment. This interpretation prevents emotional collapse. Emotional stability preserves assumption. Florence emphasized that the law responds to inner posture, not circumstances. Two people can face the same delay. One panics. The other remains calm. Their outcomes diverge because their expectations differ. Calm expectation also protects against impulsive action. Impulsivity often arises from fear of missing out. Fear-based action rarely produces stable results. Calm expectation allows discernment. Discernment improves quality of choices. Quality compounds over time. Compounding creates momentum. Momentum attracts resources. Another overlooked aspect is how calm expectation affects the body. Relaxed muscles, steady breathing, and slower movements communicate safety. Safety tells the subconscious there is no emergency. Without emergency, higher reasoning functions better. Calm expectation also reduces mental noise. Noise clouds perception. When noise quiets, insight emerges. Insight often reveals simple adjustments that make a large difference. Money responds to simplicity. Complexity often arises from misalignment. When alignment returns, complexity dissolves naturally. Calm expectation also prevents emotional burnout. Burnout often comes from sustained tension. Tension drains vitality. Vitality attracts opportunity. Protecting vitality protects attraction. This state also changes how you receive. When expectation is calm, you are open to receiving without guilt or surprise. Receiving feels normal. Normalcy stabilizes flow. Florence taught that surprise often signals unfamiliarity. If abundance surprises you, it may not stay. Calm expectation makes abundance familiar before it arrives. Familiarity allows continuity. Calm expectation is strengthened through trust in order. Order means things unfold in sequence. Sequence requires time. Time feels threatening only when trust is absent. Trust does not mean ignoring action. It means acting without fear. Fear distorts action. Calm clarifies it. Another key element is detachment from outcomes. Calm expectation does not cling to one form. It allows flexibility. Flexibility expands pathways. Money often arrives through unexpected channels. A rigid expectation might miss it. Calm expectation recognizes opportunity regardless of form. Florence also noted that calm expectation improves relationships. People sense emotional stability and respond positively. Better relationships create better opportunities. Opportunity expands income indirectly as well as directly. This state also supports generosity without depletion. Giving from calm expectation feels safe. Safe giving reinforces abundance. Abundance circulates back naturally. Calm expectation also dissolves envy. Envy signals comparison. Comparison lowers vibration. Calm expectation centers attention inward. Centered attention strengthens assumption. When expectation is calm, there is less need for validation. Validation seeking weakens authority. Authority attracts cooperation. Cooperation accelerates results. Florence taught that calm expectation is faith in action. It is faith without drama. Drama belongs to fear. Faith rests quietly. This state does not deny challenges, it reframes them. Challenges become temporary adjustments rather than threats. This reframing protects emotional consistency. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. Intensity burns out. Consistency compounds. Calm expectation also improves sleep. Sleep quality affects subconscious programming. Better sleep reinforces trust. Trust stabilizes vibration. When calm expectation becomes dominant, money stops feeling unpredictable. It feels responsive. Responsiveness builds confidence. Confidence strengthens expectation. This creates a reinforcing loop. Calm expectation produces results. Result. Confirm calm expectation. Confirmation stabilizes belief. Eventually, the state becomes self-sustaining. You no longer practice calm expectation. You live from it. At that point, money no longer feels like something to attract. It feels like something that moves naturally with you. Money becomes stable when it feels safe to stay. One of the most overlooked truths about wealth is that attraction alone is not enough. Retention matters just as much. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that money leaves environments inner and outer where it does not feel secure. Safety is not about control, it is about emotional readiness. Many people manage to attract money temporarily through effort, opportunity, or luck, but then lose it just as quickly. This pattern is not accidental. It reflects an inner state that has not yet adjusted to holding more. The nervous system still expects loss, so it creates behaviors that fulfill that expectation. Safety is emotional, not logical. You can tell yourself you are ready for more money, while emotionally bracing for something to go wrong. That brace is tension. Tension signals danger. Danger tells the subconscious to reduce exposure. Reducing exposure often looks like overspending, underpricing, avoiding responsibility, or rejecting opportunities that require expansion. Money responds to emotional stability. When your inner state is steady, money can circulate without triggering fear. Fear disrupts circulation. Circulation is how wealth grows. When money flows in and out calmly, it multiplies naturally. A major block to safety is guilt. Guilt about wanting money, having more than others, or surpassing family norms creates internal conflict. Conflict weakens stability. The subconscious resolves conflict by restoring familiar conditions. Familiar often means less. Another block is identity attachment to struggle. Some people unconsciously associate struggle with virtue. Ease feels suspicious. When ease appears, it triggers discomfort. Discomfort leads to self-sabotage. This keeps the identity intact. Safety also relates to responsibility. More money often brings more responsibility. If responsibility feels overwhelming, the subconscious resists expansion. It is not resisting money. It is resisting perceived pressure. Creating safety involves redefining what money means. When money is seen as support rather than burden, resistance softens. Support feels safe. Burden feels heavy. The meaning assigned money shapes emotional response. Language again plays a role. Phrases like more money means more problems condition fear. Fear blocks retention. Replacing such beliefs with neutral or supportive meanings reduces tension. Safety is also influenced by how you handle mistakes. If mistakes lead to harsh self-judgment, expansion feels risky. Risk threatens safety. Gentle correction supports growth. Growth attracts resources. Florence emphasized composure. Composure signals readiness. A composed person can hold more without panic. Panic leads to loss. Calm leads to stability. Financial organization also contributes to safety. Chaos creates anxiety. Anxiety repels retention. Order creates calm. Calm attracts stability. This does not require perfection, only clarity. Safety also comes from trusting yourself. Trust that you can handle what comes. Doubting your ability to manage success creates subconscious resistance. Building small proofs of competence strengthens trust. Receiving is another skill. Some people feel uncomfortable receiving. Discomfort pushes money away. Practicing receiving compliments help. Opportunities conditions openness. Openness allows retention. The body again is involved. Tightness around receiving signals defense. Softness signals welcome. The subconscious reads these signals constantly. Safety increases when money is no longer tied to self-worth. When worth is intrinsic, money becomes neutral. Neutrality allows free movement. Free movement supports growth. Florence taught that stability precedes expansion. Expansion without stability collapses. Stability does not mean stagnation. It means emotional readiness. When safety is present, money stops triggering emotional reactions. It becomes a tool, not a test. Tools are easier to manage than tests. Safety also affects generosity. When you feel safe, giving does not create fear. Fearless giving reinforces abundance. Abundance circulates back. Retention improves when spending is conscious rather than emotional. Emotional spending often attempts to soothe insecurity. Insecurity drains resources. Conscious spending reflects self-trust. Safety also changes planning. Planning from calm is strategic. Planning from fear is restrictive. Strategy expands. Restriction contracts. Florence believed a divine order supports those who are emotionally prepared. Preparation is not effort, it is alignment. As safety increases, opportunities stop feeling overwhelming. They feel manageable. Manageable invites acceptance. Acceptance allows growth. Money senses readiness through behavior, reaction, and expectation. When readiness is present, money stays. Stability creates confidence. Confidence attracts opportunity. Opportunity reinforces stability. This cycle builds quietly. There is no dramatic moment when safety arrives. It accumulates through small shifts. As money feels safer to hold, it stops leaving unnecessarily. When it stops leaving, accumulation begins naturally. Wealth is not about grabbing more. It is about becoming someone who can hold more without fear. Self-concept sets the ceiling on your financial life. No matter how strong your desire or how clear your goals are, money will not rise beyond the level that feels consistent with who you believe you are. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that life is not responding to what you want to have, but to what you accept yourself to be. Self-concept is the silent identity you live from. It is not what you tell people about yourself. It is the inner position you occupy when making decisions, reacting to challenges, and imagining the future. Money aligns with that position automatically. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, money will come only in ways that require struggle. If you see yourself as someone who is supported, Money finds easier paths. The law does not judge the identity, it mirrors it. Many people try to change income without changing identity. They attempt to earn more while still feeling undeserving, behind, or insecure. This creates internal contradiction. Contradiction weakens attraction. Money avoids unstable environments. Self-concept influences what feels possible. Possibility is emotional, not logical. You may logically understand that earning more is possible, but if it does not feel like someone like me can have, that action will unconsciously sabotage progress. This sabotage is subtle. It appears as underpricing, hesitation, procrastination, poor boundaries, or fear of visibility. These behaviors restore the familiar identity even while frustrating conscious goals. Florence emphasized that identity changes gradually through experience, not force. Sudden attempts to adopt a new self-image often trigger resistance. The subconscious protects identity fiercely. Gentle expansion is more effective. Small wins matter because they update identity. Each experience of ease, success, or support becomes evidence that challenges the old self-concept. Over time, the identity adjusts naturally. Language plays a major role. How you describe yourself internally shapes identity daily. Casual self-criticism reinforces limitation. Respectful inner dialogue reinforces worth. The subconscious records tone, not intention. Self-concept also shapes tolerance. You tolerate what matches identity. A person who sees themselves as valuable will not tolerate disrespect or underpayment. Boundaries strengthen self-concept. Strong self-concept attracts better opportunities. Money responds to boundaries. Clear boundary communicates stability. Stability invites trust. Trust supports flow. Florence taught that self-concept is spiritual. It is your agreement with life about who you are allowed to be. Changing that agreement changes what life brings. Another key element is comparison. Comparing yourself to others weakens identity. It places value externally. External value fluctuates. Internal value stabilizes. When identity is stable, envy fades. Envy signals lack. Lack repels expansion. Stability attracts cooperation. Self-concept also affects patience. When you identify as capable, delays do not threaten identity. When identity is fragile, delays feel personal. Emotional reaction then disrupts alignment. Identity shapes expectation. Expectation shapes perception. Perception guides action. Action produces outcome. Outcome reinforces identity. This loop runs continuously. Breaking the loop starts with identity awareness. Observing how you see yourself loosens unconscious control. Awareness introduces choice. Florence encouraged imagining yourself acting naturally in a higher role, not fantasizing but feeling familiarity. Familiarity reduces resistance. Reduced resistance allows acceptance. Self-concept also influences how you receive compliments, money, help. If receiving feels uncomfortable, identity resists expansion. Practicing receiving gently conditions openness. Identity is also stored in the body. Posture, pace, and presence communicate self-concept. Upright, relaxed posture signals confidence. Confidence attracts response. Florence stressed composure. Composure is identity in motion. A composed person moves as if supported. Life responds accordingly. Self-concept does not change by proving worth. It changes by recognizing worth. Recognition removes effort. Effort signals doubt. When worth is assumed, money feels like a tool, not a test. Tests create anxiety. Tools create empowerment. As self-concept strengthens, decisions improve. Improved decisions create better outcomes. Outcomes confirm identity. The cycle stabilizes upward. Eventually, wealth no longer feels distant or intimidating. It feels consistent. Consistency supports continuity. Money aligns with who you are being, not who you hope to become. Change who you are being internally. and money adjusts externally without force. Words tune your money vibration instantly, whether you are aware of it or not. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that speech is creative, not descriptive. Every word spoken with feeling carries instruction. Money responds not to what you wish for privately, but to what you consistently declare out loud or silently with emotional agreement. Most people underestimate the power of casual speech. They believe only affirmations matter, while everyday language is harmless. In reality, habitual phrases shape financial outcomes more than deliberate practices. Repetition gives words authority. Authority turns language into expectation. Expectation becomes experience. The subconscious does not analyze meaning the way the conscious mind does. It records tone, repetition, and emotional charge. When someone repeatedly says phrases like "money disappears, I'm always broke," or "it never works out," those phrases become internal instruction. Even when spoken jokingly, the emotional familiarity remains. Words spoken under emotion are especially powerful. Frustration, fear, or resentment energize language. Energized language imprints deeply. This is why one emotionally charged complaint can outweigh many neutral affirmations. Emotion is the amplifier. Florence emphasized that money responds to certainty in speech, not positivity. Words spoken with calm authority carry more power than enthusiastic declarations spoken with doubt underneath. Authority feels settled. Doubt feels unstable. Money moves toward stability. Changing speech is not about lying or pretending. It is about refusing to reinforce what you do not want to continue. Silence is often better than negative description. Describing a problem repeatedly keeps it active. Silence allows it to lose momentum. Neutral language is a powerful bridge. Moving from "I can't afford this" to "I'm choosing not to spend on this right now" removes emotional lag. Choice signals control. Control signals safety. Safety attracts resources. Florence taught that words should reflect the end, not the struggle. Speaking from the struggle keeps attention locked there. Speaking from the end shifts identity. Identity guides behavior. Behavior creates results. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means choosing which reality you energize. You can acknowledge a situation once, then stop feeding it verbally. What is not fed weakens. Words also influence self-concept. How you speak about your abilities, decisions, and future shapes identity daily. Identity sets the financial ceiling. When language shifts, identity follows. Many people sabotage themselves through self-directed humor. Jokes about being bad with money, unlucky, or always behind reinforce limitation. The subconscious does not understand humor. It understands repetition. Florence warned that complaining is one of the fastest ways to lower money vibration. Complaining focuses attention on lack and injustice. These emotions block flow. Gratitude reverses the effect by shifting focus to sufficiency. Gratitude does not require exaggeration. Simple acknowledgement of support stabilizes vibration. Stability attracts continuity. Another key is consistency. Occasional positive statements cannot override constant negative language. Dominant speech patterns win. Awareness is the first step. You cannot change what you do not notice. Listening to yourself is revealing. Pay attention to what you say when stressed, rushed, or disappointed. Those moments reveal core assumptions. Core assumptions drive results. Florence taught that affirmations should feel natural. If words feel forced, resistance is present. Resistance weakens effect. Simpler statements often work better. Calm statements work better than dramatic ones. Words also affect timing. Statements like "it's taking forever" stretch time. Statements like "things are aligning" compress it. Time responds to expectation. Another overlooked aspect is speaking about others. Criticizing others' success reinforces scarcity. It subtly declares that abundance creates problems. This belief pushes abundance away. Blessing others' success signals openness. Florence emphasized blessing as a practice. Blessing is not flattery, it is alignment. Aligning with prosperity wherever it appears conditions the mind to accept it personally. Words spoken before sleep are especially influential. The subconscious is open. Emotional statements made at night program deeply, ending the day with calm. Supportive language stabilizes vibration. Internal speech matters as much as spoken words. Inner dialogue runs constantly. That dialogue shapes assumptions continuously. Changing it gently reshapes experience. Harsh inner speech creates tension. Tension lowers vibration. Gentle inner speech creates safety. Safety attracts flow. Florence taught that you should never speak against yourself. Self-condemnation fractures alignment. Alignment is required for manifestation. Words also influence relationships. Clear, confident speech improves interactions. Improved interactions create opportunities. Opportunities increase income indirectly. Money responds to clarity. Confused language reflects confused intention. Clear language reflects clear expectation. Clarity attracts cooperation. This does not mean scripting every sentence. It means removing habitual negativity. Negativity often feels automatic because it has been practiced. Practice can be replaced. Replacing language gradually changes emotional tone. Emotional tone changes behavior. Behavior changes outcomes. Outcomes reinforce language. The loop reverses. Florence believed that speech was prayer in action. Every declaration was a request to life. Life answers honestly. Words do not need to be many. They need to be consistent. Consistency builds familiarity. Familiarity becomes normal. When supportive language becomes normal, money stops feeling distant. It feels responsive. Speaking prosperity calmly is more powerful than shouting emotionally. The goal is not to convince life but to stop contradicting it. When language aligns with expectation, expectation aligns with reality, and reality follows the strongest, most consistent voice within you. Money responds strongly to emotional regulation and detachment. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that desire alone is not enough. Emotional balance is what allows desire to move into form. Wanting money while emotionally gripping it creates resistance. Releasing emotional pressure creates flow. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means trust without tension. When someone constantly worries about money, checks for results, or fears loss, they are energetically declaring uncertainty. Uncertainty disrupts rhythm. Money moves best through calm expectation. Many people confuse urgency with importance. Urgency carries fear. Fear narrows perception and limits creative solutions. Calm importance keeps attention steady while allowing new pathways to appear. Life responds more generously to calm confidence than to desperation. Florence emphasized that anxiety blocks supply. Anxiety signals disbelief in support. Even when affirmations are spoken, anxious emotion underneath cancels their effect. The subconscious responds to emotion first, words second. Detachment shifts focus from outcome to alignment. Instead of asking when will it happen, the mind relaxes into it is handled. This inner conclusion reduces interference. Reduced interference allows natural timing. Money arrives through people, ideas, timing, and circumstance. When someone fixates on a specific route, they limit flow. Detachment allows flexibility. Flexibility multiplies opportunities. Emotional attachment often shows up as over-effort. Over-effort suggests lack of trust. Trust invites cooperation. Cooperation reduces strain. Strain blocks ease. Florence taught that ease is a spiritual indicator. When something is right, it feels supported. Forcing indicates misalignment or impatience. Patience is not waiting passively. It is remaining emotionally stable while life reorganizes. Emotional neutrality toward money does not repel it, it attracts it. When money is placed on a pedestal, it becomes intimidating. When it is treated as a neutral tool, it integrates smoothly. Detachment also protects from disappointment. When identity is tied to outcomes, delays feel personal. Emotional regulation prevents discouragement. Discouragement lowers vibration and interrupts momentum. Money vibration strengthens when emotions are self-managed rather than reactive. Reactivity signals loss of control. Control signals safety. Safety attracts resources. Florence warned against emotional bargaining. Statements like "I'll be happy when I have money" place happiness in the future. This creates absence in the present. Absence reinforces lack. Choosing emotional well-being now aligns with abundance. Abundance is a state before it is a condition. Conditions follow states. Detachment allows enjoyment of the present moment. Enjoyment signals sufficiency. Sufficiency attracts increase. Gratitude is a form of emotional regulation that stabilizes frequency. This does not require forced positivity. Forced emotion creates internal conflict. Calm acceptance is enough. Acceptance does not approve of limitation. It stops fighting it. Fighting reality keeps attention on what is unwanted. Allowing reality to exist without emotional charge dissolves its hold. Neutral observation weakens resistance. Florence often spoke of non-resistance. Non-resistance allows divine order to work. Resistance delays outcomes. Delay feeds frustration. Frustration increases resistance. The cycle continues until emotion stabilizes. Detachment also prevents impulsive decisions. Emotional decisions often create financial setbacks. Calm decisions align with long-term benefit. Money prefers environments of clarity. Emotional turbulence clouds clarity. Calming the emotional field clarifies perception. Clear perception leads to aligned action. Another aspect of detachment is releasing comparison. Comparing progress to others creates emotional imbalance. Imbalance disrupts flow. Each path unfolds differently. Florence taught that envy repels wealth because it focuses on lack. Blessing others' success restores balance. Balance attracts harmony. Emotional maturity is attractive. People trust emotionally stable individuals. Trust creates opportunities. Opportunities lead to income growth. Detachment also applies to mistakes. Beating yourself up over past financial errors keeps energy stuck there. Forgiveness restores movement. Movement brings new chances. Money vibration improves when emotions are treated as information, not identity. Feeling fear does not mean you are fearful. It means attention needs adjustment. Learning to soothe yourself emotionally is a wealth skill. It prevents panic, preserves confidence, and maintains alignment. Florence emphasized faith as emotional steadiness. Faith is not belief without evidence. It is calm before evidence arrives. Calm prepares the ground. Nighttime emotional tone matters. Ending the day in peace programs trust. Trust compounds over time. Detachment also allows joy without guilt. Some people sabotage abundance because joy feels undeserved. Allowing joy conditions receptivity. Money responds to receptivity. Receptivity is emotional openness without tension. When emotions are regulated, intuition becomes clearer. Clear intuition guides better financial choices effortlessly. Detachment also dissolves fear of loss. Fear of loss causes hoarding or reckless behavior. Both disrupt flow. Trust supports circulation. Circulation sustains wealth. Florence believed money was an effect, not a cause. Emotional state causes financial outcome. Managing emotion manages results. As emotional steadiness becomes habitual, money stops feeling dramatic, it becomes practical. Practical things integrate easily. Eventually, detachment transforms into quiet confidence. Confidence stabilizes vibration. Stable vibration attracts consistent supply. Money flows toward those who expect support without anxiety. Calm expectation is magnetic. Release emotional pressure, and life fills the space naturally. Money follows focus, and focus is trained through imagination. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that imagination is not fantasy but a formative power that shapes experience. What you repeatedly imagine with feeling becomes familiar. What becomes familiar becomes normal. What feels normal expresses itself in life. Imagination works beneath conscious effort. It does not respond to willpower. It responds to repetition and emotion. A single vivid inner scene, repeated gently, can outweigh years of struggle because it updates the subconscious expectation. Most people use imagination unconsciously against themselves. They rehearse worry, replay past failures, or visualize lack without realizing it. These mental images generate emotional responses that feel real. The body responds as if the scenario were happening. The subconscious accepts it as instruction. Florence emphasized that imagination must be used deliberately but calmly. Straining to visualize creates tension. Tension blocks absorption. Soft focus allows images to sink in. The goal is not to imagine how money will come, but to imagine the feeling of already being supported. Feelings imprint faster than pictures. The subconscious understands emotional reality more clearly than visual detail. Imagining relief, ease, or gratitude conditions the mind to expect support. Expectation guides behavior. Behavior opens opportunities. Repetition matters more than intensity. A simple imagined scene revisited regularly becomes familiar. Familiarity removes resistance. Resistance is the main barrier to manifestation. Florence taught that imagining from the end changes identity. Identity drives decisions unconsciously. When identity updates, actions shift without force. For example, imagining yourself paying bills calmly instead of anxiously trains a new financial self-concept. Over time, real-world behavior aligns with that calm identity. Imagination also trains tolerance. If you imagine receiving larger sums regularly, the mind becomes comfortable with abundance. Comfort prevents sabotage. Discomfort triggers avoidance. Many people block wealth because large amounts feel unfamiliar or unsafe. Imagination expands capacity gently. Expansion allows reception. Florence stressed imagination before sleep. At night, the conscious mind relaxes. The subconscious becomes receptive. Images impressed then carry strong influence. It is not necessary to visualize clearly. Feeling is enough. A sense of this is handled imprint stability. Stability invites flow. Imagination should be free of effort. If strain appears, simplify. The subconscious resists force, but welcomes suggestion. Imagining abundance does not mean ignoring responsibility. It means aligning inner expectations so outer action becomes effective. Florence warned against imagining lack to be realistic. Realism maintains current conditions. Imagination creates new ones. The mind cannot tell the difference between imagined experience and physical experience when emotion is involved. This is why imagined fear feels real. The same mechanism applies to imagined support. Imagination also influences timing. When the end feels settled, urgency dissolves. Reduced urgency removes resistance. Things move faster without pressure. Florence believed that imagination is prayer in picture form. Each image is a silent request. Life answers with matching conditions. Imagining success for others also expands capacity. It trains the mind to see abundance as available. Scarcity thinking shrinks imagination. Imagination should not contradict your values. When inner scenes align with integrity, they integrate smoothly. Conflict creates resistance. You do not need to imagine constantly. Quality matters more than quantity. Brief, consistent impressions work best. Imagining from lack reinforces lack. Imagining from fulfillment reinforces fulfillment. Choose perspective intentionally. Florence emphasized imagination combined with expectancy. Expectancy is the emotional posture that assumes response. Expectancy without demand allows natural unfolding. Imagination also shapes self-talk. Images influence language. Language reinforces identity. Identity produces outcome. For example, imagining confidence leads to confident speech. Confident speech attracts trust. Trust brings opportunity. Imagination affects posture and presence. Inner images subtly adjust body language. Others respond accordingly. Money often comes through people. Imagination that includes harmonious interactions improves social flow. Florence taught that imagining harmony in all areas supports financial flow indirectly. Conflict consumes energy. Harmony frees it. Imagination also dissolves fear of success. Seeing yourself successful reduces shock when opportunities appear. Shock causes hesitation. Hesitation delays. Imagining ease around money retrains nervous system response. Calm nervous system supports clarity. Imagination must feel natural. If it feels fake, scale back. Imagining neutrality can be a starting point. Florence often said to see yourself already there. This does not mean picturing luxury, but feeling settled. Settled expectation is powerful. It tells life you are ready. Imagination should be private. Sharing visions prematurely invites doubt. Doubt weakens impression. Imagination also works through memory. Reframing past experiences softens emotional charge. Softening charge frees energy for creation. Florence believed imagination was a divine faculty. It cooperates with universal order when used responsibly. Using imagination consciously trains the mind to expect good. Expectation creates pathways. Pathways appear as ideas, timing, encounters, and decisions. Money follows those pathways naturally. When imagination becomes disciplined, reality becomes flexible. What you consistently imagine with calm certainty becomes the shape of your life. Consistency is the final stabilizer of money vibration. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that occasional alignment creates moments of success, but sustained alignment creates a way of life. Money does not respond to what you do sometimes. It responds to what you live from repeatedly. Many people experience brief financial improvements and then fall back into old patterns. This is not bad luck. It is vibration returning to its dominant setting. Temporary practices cannot override long-held habits unless those habits are gently replaced. Consistency does not mean constant effort. It means stable inner posture. The posture you return to when nothing special is happening defines your vibration more than what you do during motivated moments. Your default thoughts, reactions, and expectations form your baseline frequency. Life responds to the baseline, not the peaks. Peaks feel exciting, but baselines shape outcomes. Florence emphasized daily alignment over dramatic rituals. Small, steady practices reprogram the subconscious more effectively than intense but short-lived actions. The subconscious trusts what repeats. Money vibration strengthens when your inner dialogue, emotional tone, and behavior match across time. Alignment across days creates credibility. Credibility attracts cooperation. Inconsistency creates mixed signals. Mixed signals slow results. Life does not punish inconsistency, it simply reflects it. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. When you keep inner agreements, confidence grows. Confidence stabilizes identity. Stable identity supports wealth. Florence warned against constantly changing methods. Jumping from technique to technique signals doubt. Doubt weakens authority. Authority attracts response. Choosing one simple practice and staying with it trains faith. Faith is not belief without proof. It is steadiness before proof arrives. Consistency does not require perfection. Missing a day does not break alignment. Emotional self-judgment does. Guilt lowers vibration more than pause. Gentle return is more powerful than harsh correction. Returning calmly reinforces stability. Money responds to maturity. Maturity is the ability to remain aligned without emotional drama. Drama creates volatility. Volatility disrupts flow. Florence taught that spiritual laws operate through order. Order is established through rhythm. Rhythm requires consistency. Daily routines anchor vibration. Morning tone sets direction. Evening tone seals expectation. What happens in between matters less than how you begin and end. Consistent gratitude trains sufficiency. Sufficiency attracts increase. Inconsistent gratitude keeps focus on lack. Consistent speech matters. Speaking well about money occasionally does not offset daily complaint. Dominant language wins. Consistency also applies to boundaries. Enforcing boundaries sometimes creates confusion. Consistent boundaries create respect. Respect brings bare financial treatment. Money flows toward environments that feel predictable and stable. Stability feels safe. Safety attracts resources. Florence emphasized faithfulness to inner work even when results are unseen. The unseen phase builds foundation. Impatience disrupts structure. Results often arrive suddenly, but they are prepared gradually. Consistency prepares the ground. Many people quit just before momentum completes. Momentum is invisible until it is obvious. Faith bridges that gap. Consistency also prevents emotional overreaction. When practices are regular, mood swings reduce. Reduced swings maintain alignment. Florence believed discipline was kindness to the mind. Discipline creates freedom. Freedom attracts abundance. Consistency does not mean rigidity. It means reliability. Flexible reliability adapts without losing direction. Consistency also shapes intuition. Regular alignment sharpens inner guidance. Clear guidance leads to better timing. Money often arrives when timing aligns. Timing improves when intuition is trusted. Trust develops through consistency. Consistency transforms identity slowly but permanently. Permanent change creates lasting results. One aligned day helps. Many aligned days transform. Florence taught that persistence impresses the subconscious. Once impressed, the subconscious organizes circumstances automatically. Automatic organization feels effortless. Effortlessness sustains wealth. Consistency also protects from emotional burnout. When alignment is gentle and regular, energy is preserved. Preserved energy increases clarity. Clarity improves decisions. Decisions shape income. Consistency also changes expectations of others. People sense reliability. Reliability attracts opportunity. Money responds to patterns. Patterns form through repetition. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity reduces fear. Reduced fear opens flow. Florence believed life mirrors what it can rely on. Be reliable internally, and life responds reliably externally. Consistency is quiet power. It does not announce itself. It accumulates. When consistency becomes identity, abundance stops feeling temporary. It feels normal, and what feels normal stays. Stay steady in what you choose to believe, speak, feel, and imagine. Do not rush the law, and do not doubt it when things are quiet. Every calm assumption you hold is shaping tomorrow in ways you cannot yet see. Trust the process. Remain consistent, and let life meet you at the level of certainty you now carry within. Thank you.